the Bible is full of all sorts of references to sin. Sin is a pretty big deal to God. He gives us all sorts of rules in Scripture, like the 10 Commandments, and he says, don't break these rules. And in some ways, this makes a lot of sense. If you and I, we feel free in life to murder each other, take each other's spouses and commit adultery, if we feel free to do all those things, like this whole human experiment is not going to go so well. Our first basic rule that we kind of learn in life is to not harm our neighbor so that society doesn't completely break down. And it makes sense that God would set up big consequences for us when we sort of ignore him and we sin against other people, right? Especially when we participate in some of those bigger, badder, grosser sins like abuse or murder, right? That it makes sense there would be consequences and that, at a certain point, it might even jeopardize us getting into heaven. And I think most of us want to go to heaven, so we generally try to be nice to our neighbor, to avoid harming our neighbor. This makes sense. What doesn't make sense to a lot of us is God calls a whole host of things sins. He's offended by a whole host of sins that have nothing to do with any harm that we could bring to our neighbor, that solely have to do with personal choices that we make. Why does he care? Is he just an overbearing parent? Does he have impossible expectations? Does he delight in controlling us or making us suffer? What is it that to God defines sin and makes him so crazy about sin?